If you've been on the internet long enough, you probably know about modern society's biggest issue, overconsumption. Consumerism this, consumerism that. It is literally everywhere. For a while, I thought, we gamers will never run into this issue. We're different from them and we're better than them. We gamers will never buy things we don't need. But hold on a sec, how many games do you have in your Steam library that you never even installed? How many times did you buy multiple games at a time thinking, oh, it's cheap, and then end up never wanting to play them? Now, before you come at me arguing that hoarding games is an overconsumption, I get it. Amongst many other online trends like hoarding Labubus, glittering dumplings, Stanley Cups, which can be physically harmful to the environment. Buying online video games isn't nearly as bad. If anything, the only thing it can harm is your wallet and your sanity. However, I still think it is worth talking about because it is an issue I personally experienced and I know you can relate to. Whether it should be considered overconsumption or not, I'll let you decide. So let's get into it and let me know what you think. Firstly, the pattern. I love Steam, I play games solely on Steam, but I do have to say, Steam may be the most convenient and the most evil app at the same time. On one hand, you get to play games safely and easily. On the other hand, you're always exposed to numerous new, cool games, and Steam does a pretty good job suggesting the games it thinks you may like. So what happens is, even if you don't need to buy new games, when you see such good suggestions on the front page, of course you're gonna want to check it out, wishlist it, and then when Steam sends you an email notification of your wishlisted game being on sale, you buy it. These games might not be too pricey individually, just a couple dollars to buy some happiness, so why not, right? So you buy one, then two, then 10, and then the next thing you know, you have 30 games in your backlog that you never play, and yet you still want to buy more. This person, Blaze99999, said, I'm addicted to buying games. I started being able to buy games a couple months ago. Since then, I can't stop buying games. I buy at least one game every week, and yet I haven't played most of them. I need an advice. 490 comments, and most of them are just glossing over the big issue or even making jokes out of it. It may seem harmless, but it actually could be dangerous when you think about the dopamine tolerance aspect of the addiction. Stone Bajit said, oh my god, I feel that. I get the dopamine rush knowing that I have a new game downloading in my library, which I will only play for 3 hours. Here's a joke I found. Don't worry, at some point you will own every game on Steam without new games to buy. I don't think so. There are too many games on Steam and new games are being published every single day. I really do hope they're joking with that comment. Media Rody69 said, I don't know about that. I've been at it for 15 years. I own around 2,000 games on Steam and another 1,000 between GOG and EA Play, and my Steam wishlist is still over 900 items. I don't see a light at the end of this tunnel. Yeah, that sounds about right. Telling someone to keep buying until there's nothing left to buy is like telling a drug addict to keep taking substances until they can't buy them anymore. Seriously, bad advice. 56 Gold said, do what every Steam user does, hold out until a major sale, then waste your money on a ton of games you'd never play. This is ironically true. I think many of us have fallen victim to this marketing strategy, the seasonal sales trap. Steam has a few major sales throughout the year, winter or New Year's, spring, summer, autumn, or Black Friday. There are also other events like Steam Next Fest, Genre Fest, Publisher Sales Week, etc. Technically, there are always sales, some smaller, some bigger, but because they're sales, of course there are marketing tactics around it. It makes us feel like we need to get most of our wishlisted games while they're on sale, even though we might not even like to play them. Especially for us gamers, whom I would assume are mostly introverts, spending money on games is how we celebrate holidays. Other people buy new clothes, new home decor, or maybe they travel. For us, holidays are just another reason to just stay home and play games. Not to mention, whenever there are big sales, everyone talks about it. There are tons of YouTube videos suggesting what games to buy, people in gaming communities recommending cool games to try while they're on sale, sale. So I get it. It's hard to not buy them, especially when they're so cheap. I think people are waking up more and more to these seasonal pressures to buy new things, but not when it comes to gaming stuff. Nowadays, I can see people acknowledging that we don't need new Christmas or New Year's decorations every year. You don't need to buy tons of new clothes that we might not wear, and certainly we shouldn't buy random trendy things that we don't need. However, in gaming communities, this isn't acknowledged yet. Maybe it is somewhat acknowledged, but not seriously enough. Maybe we don't see this as a real issue, and hey, I'm not sitting here telling you that buying bulk games on sales is bad. I'm just saying that if you find yourself hoarding games from falling victims to business marketing or FOMO from other gamers, then perhaps we should take a pause and really address the problem. I'm all for using your money wisely, paying for the game you might really enjoy, but if we're just burning money through seasonal sales on games we're not that interested in, I believe we could do better than that with our money, especially in this economy. Another reason why you buy games you never play is obviously the FOMO. FOMO is part of a marketing strategy that is literally everywhere. Commoners, nobles, poor people, rich people, introverts, extroverts, gym rats, athletes, no matter who you are, you can never escape it. Some people scroll on social media for fun, gamers scroll on Steam homepage for leisure. Whatever hobby you have, we're all falling victims for a world of mass FOMO-inducing content. It's not necessarily doom and gloom. I'm honestly tired of the doom and gloom mindset, so this isn't what I'm trying to go for. It's just important to acknowledge our surroundings and go about life with some more prudence, you know? Cupman said, people who buy lots of games on Steam and never play them. Why? Monkey Dog said, because I plan to play them, but I suck at planning. Plus, it's hard to pass up a 90% off sale if the chances of me playing it are worth the amount it's on sale for. Speaking of sales, Steam also has these bundle games which tricks us into buying more games than we need, but because these games are all the same genre, they do look appealing to own, right? Fasting Slowly said, those who buy many Steam games and never play them, what is your thought process? Do you have bad FOMO? Is collecting games a game in itself for some? Do you have ADHD? James 6 said, I play a hypothetical situation in my head where I have lots of free time and the most motivation for playing games my body has ever experienced, and for that I want the largest library possible. And then you don't have time, and when you do, you waste it on doom scrolling. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. I think a lot of us can relate to this. We have too many choices and we end up in paralysis, not knowing which one to play first, and then we just doom scroll instead. I also personally have this problem that I buy certain games, but I feel like I need to be in the right mood to play them, like waiting for the perfect moment. That never comes, of course. And on Steam, if you wait too long before trying out the game, you may run the risk of being unable to refund them. Eventually, you just end up with a backlog in your library that you never touch and probably never want to touch. Graphic Gangster said, to be honest, sometimes life is so stressful and busy that you don't feel like learning a new game. You want to play something that has stood the test of time without having to learn anything new. I've spent thousands of hours playing Payday 2 and TF2 using the same playstyle. It just helps me relax and switch off my brain, you know? I can absolutely relate to this. Do you also have a few favorite games that you always fall back to? Because I do. Like, oh, I have a headache today, so I don't want to try that new game. Or I'm tired and emotional today, so let's just play this one familiar game that I already have 100+ hours in. I'm not gonna lie, learning tutorials of a game is one of my least favorite things about gaming. I do love the excitement of trying a new game, but not the actual tutorial phase of it. Speaking of tutorials, boy, you should have seen me figuring out RimWorld for the first time. That was definitely an interesting watch. Back to our topic. As a cozy management game lover, I also noticed this issue. Every game looks so cute to not try, especially if they're sold in a bundle like I've said earlier. I'm not sure if other genres face the same problem, but when it comes to cozy management sim games, not only do they look absolutely adorable, but each of them are also slightly different from each other. Different enough that makes you want to try all of them. Because how the hell can you decide between a farming game with cute animals, or a small creature collecting game with some farming, or a tavern management, or a cat cafe game. Seriously, I can go on and on with all of these games that I came across on Steam that makes me want to empty my wallet. The last reason that I want to mention is sometimes we don't play these games because they aren't as good as expected. It could be because the game itself and how it was described on its store page, which sets your expectations a certain way, and then the reality is they're so different from what they claim to be. I've been playing and loving Graveyard Keeper, but it is fairly criticized for not being focused on graveyard keeping. I could also say the same thing with a lot of cozy games. You buy a cozy game thinking that it's gonna relax you, but that's not the reality of most cozy games. They're in fact quite stressful to play with too many tasks to memorize and a strict deadline to finish them. So yes, they're advertised one way and the actual gameplay is nowhere near, which makes it not want to play that much. This is on the game's development aspect. It is part of the problem, but not always the case. There's also this psychological aspect to why we perceive these games as less appealing. There's dopamine spikes where buying or owning the game is a lot more thrilling than playing them. There's also a psychology of anticipation where the anticipation of an event is more enjoyable or intense than the actual experience. It is commonly referred to as anticipatory joy or simply the anticipation effect. This is similar to the feeling you have when you get ready for a date. The excitement, the butterflies in your stomach, the not knowing and many possibilities of what could happen is much more exhilarating than the actual date. We experience this too with seeing a game, feeling excited about buying them, and then realizing they're not that great. We talked for a bit about the why. It wouldn't be me in my video without touching a little on how to get away from this loop of buying games and not playing them. These are only suggestions and a couple of good pieces of advice I found online. Did you know that you could change your landing page on Steam to your library page instead of its default homepage? I didn't even know about this until making this video. You go to Steam, Settings, Interface, Startup Location, change it to Library. Now you're no longer getting hit with new game titles whenever you open Steam. That would fix most of the issue for me. Another advice I've read, and it's also something that I'm doing myself, is to only buy one game that I'm really interested in and that I'm going to play right away. It might be hard, especially if they're not on sale, but honestly, doing this might save you more money in the long run because even if you're paying for that game for a full price, you're not risking paying for other cheaper games that you may or may not like. It's kind of like buying for dupe items with the idea that you're saving money, but then realizing it sucks and you still end up paying for the item you originally wanted to purchase. Money well spent on something you had your eyes on for a while and you will get many hours of gameplay from it is totally worth it in my opinion. I also tell myself I will only buy new games once I get bored with my current favorite game. I've been playing a lot of Graveyard Keeper and I intend to play it for as long as I enjoy it. Prior to this, I was obsessed with Fields of Mystria. Of course, there are games that I want to just impulsively purchase, but I tell myself, let's not buy them yet because I still have my other cool games that I enjoy, and these games will always be there when I'm ready. Games go on sale once every few weeks, so it's not such a big deal if you really zoom out and think about it. You could also try removing your payment method in a way that you have to manually type in your credit card info with every single purchase. I personally don't do this. I don't buy too many games anyways because I can't afford them, but this is something you could try. A lot of people also advise to wishlist games you like and wait it out a little longer so you have time to reevaluate them. Now, I'm not a psychologist and I also don't have any medical background, so if you feel like you genuinely have issues with your impulsion and self-control, like if you've tried a lot of things on your own and none of them worked to the point that it could be a serious addiction, then please seek professional help, preferably a psychologist specialized in addiction. With all that being said, this would be it for today's video. Let me know what other tips you may have on this issue, or let me know what you think about today's topic. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe. I post once a week on YouTube talking about things I'm curious about, mostly related to gaming culture. I also stream 3 times a week on Twitch, but Twitch is more like a chill, unplanned hangout hub, so don't expect me to get too serious on there all the time. You will sometimes get a chatty alley, maybe sometimes a quiet, locked in alley if I'm really obsessed with the game, a ranty one depending on my mood. If that's what you like, you're welcome to hang out with us there. Otherwise, you can just stay on YouTube if you prefer more serious topics. Until next time, goodbye. See ya.